What up, y'all?
Welcome
to the J&O Show.
We talk about.
They had the audacity to have Erica Kulmasar on the Diary of a CEO doing an interview with some other people. She went off. She just gave facts. She talked about how selfish the modern mindset is. And most importantly, she talked about the effect that selfish mindset is gonna have on our kids. You know it's all supposed to be about the kids. It's all about the kids. Y'all lying. She gonna get you right though.
Push play.
As a man, I still kind of assume that a woman is more likely to choose me if I have more money than her and I can pay the bills and I take care of her. And so I looked into some of the research around that, and there's still an expectation amongst women that their male partner will earn much more than them. And when they did this big, I think it's about 70%, I'll put the right stat on the screen, when they did this big analysis of dating behavior, where they looked at 1.8 million online dating profiles across 20 different countries. If you earned more, so if you had higher income, you are 255% more likely to get an indication of interest on these applications. And so I would love to live in a world where that wasn't the case, but it seems that women are still choosing men that earn much more money. And that expectation of therefore being the provider is so inherent in reproductive success as a man.
There's a reason for that, though. So what we haven't...
All of us who have experienced red pill ideas, even if you're not a red pillar, but you just sort of listen to some of the things they say, you're like, okay, that makes sense. You know, you're not really into it, though.
I dabble a little, yes.
We all know the pressure societally is for the man to be able to provide, period. All of that equality goes out the window when they do that. It's very rare that you would meet a man or a woman who believes that the woman and the man have equal
financial responsibility.
There you go. So even if you have a woman who making $100,000 a year, she wants a man who makes $100,000 a year or more. It's reality. But the reason they about to get into that.
So what we haven't talked about, can we talk about children now?
Sure, we can talk about whatever you like.
If you want to raise children and be the primary attachment figure for your children, and it's usually the mother, sometimes it's the father now, but it's still usually the mother. Children need a primary attachment figure as present as possible in the first 3 years if they are going to be mentally healthy in the future. All of the research shows that. If you're going to be as physically present as possible, unless you've saved a lot of money as a woman, you need to depend on your partner, on your team member. My husband and I were a team. Before we had children, we both earned a lot and worked really hard and spent our money equally. But then we decided it was a strategy. We were going to have children, and I was going to work as little as possible so I could be there for them. And he did the bulk of the earning. And now the joke is, I'm out in the world and I'm going to be taking over and he's going to be sitting by the pool, and I'd be fine with that. But that's what teamwork is. But the idea that I could lean on my husband financially in those years and not have to earn money and be able to be present for my children, there is a very good reason why that is critical for children. And we don't talk about children. We're sitting here, this is the first time we talked about children. We're talking about adults and individuals. And no, children are dependent on us. If you don't have to have children to be happy, but if you are going to bring children into this world, you have a responsibility to those children, and it surpasses any individual desire you may have.
And you're saying the mother should be there in those opening years?
Michael Jackson said it best. If you're going to have a baby, yeah.
Then don't have a baby.
If you can't take care of the baby, yeah. Then don't have a baby. Yeah. What if you starting?
We live in a very selfish culture. And I think the issue is a lot of people think they can still be selfish after they have the kids and there be no consequences.
Yeah.
Or they don't care about the consequences.
Well, our society tell us that we, YOLO. So it doesn't matter about the consequences because you only live once.
Here's the problem.
So live your best life.
Here's the problem. Because we live in a society that talks about the pursuit of happiness, sometimes some things and some people get in the way of happiness, like duty, kids, spouses, family members, bills. Guess what, y'all? It's a part of life. And you can't escape it. We need to stop trying to duck responsibility.
Yes.
The primary attachment figure, who's usually the mother. Daycare is terrible for children. Let's define daycare. Daycare is anything under the age of 3. Otherwise, we call it preschool. We used to call it nursery school, 3 to 5 before kindergarten. Okay. So anything under the age of 3 where you put your child in group care is daycare. And what it really is, they're day orphanages. You separate a baby who needs skin-to-skin contact, the sound of their mother's voice,
Wait, that was deep.
Wow, that's messed up.
She said day orphanages.
Yo, I never thought about it like that.
I never thought about it like that, but I guess you're right.
Real quick, we're gonna get back to the video. This video is good. Go watch the whole thing. We're not gonna watch it here, but y'all go watch the whole thing. He's pretty much watched the whole thing. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I've just been hearing lots of it while he was watching, and I've been hearing bits and pieces. Anyway, that's not the point right now. What I was gonna say real quick. So my daughter, both of our kids, they love animals. This summer, my daughter, she went to volunteer at an animal shelter, right? So we went to the animal shelter today, actually, and we were in there with the kittens. And all the information that they have on the animal, when they bring it in, they have like a printout. So you can see the day that they came in, what the name is, if it had like any surgery or anything like that, just like a quick little cheat sheet on the cat. And there was about 5 rooms, and we went into all of them, actually. We ended up going into all of them. They were all kittens. A few of the rooms, you could tell they were like related. They looked alike. They came from the same litter, basically, like brother and sister. The ones that had just come in, you can tell they were so afraid. And these are animals. You can tell they were afraid. And that when we did the orientation, like they were telling us, a lot of times when these animals come in, it could be because the family, they had a cat who had a whole bunch of kittens and they can't keep all of them or whatever, and they get separated. And the kittens, they're like in shock. They're distant. They're in a corner. They're scared. They're not sure what to do because their whole world just got rocked upside down because it's like, okay, I was in my mother's belly. I came out. I was with her for a little bit. I recognized her, but then all of a sudden now I'm gone. Like these strangers, like who are all these people? Where's the person that I know? Like, where are they? I literally could see it in the animals. And it was a few of them that were like that. And the other ones that had been there for a few days, they were a little bit more acclimated and, you know, they played with you. But you can see like there was one that had just came in today, actually earlier that morning. And like, it was just like, it was really timid to interact or what have you with us because it was scared. You know, eventually by like trying to be very gentle with it or whatever, it kind of allowed us to, but it was nervous. And when she just said that, like it's an orphanage, that's deep.
That's foul, dog.
You're literally shocking their little system because for 9 months, all they knew was the person that they were inside. They came out there with them for 3 months. Over here in the States, pretty much, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're blessed to be able to be out a little bit longer or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're separated and you're put into this place with all these other crying babies, sensory overload. Where's my mother? Where's the person that I can recognize their scent? That's wow.
Yeah, that sucks.
And you know the second
That's
thing
really
is,
wild.
we'll get all of this research and it'll be put out there, but because it makes too much money for us to have women working, for the government to have them paying taxes and pouring into the economy, they won't let this be something that everybody knows because they honestly don't care about how people turn out. They just need you to be a good little factory worker.
Basically.
And by factory, I don't mean literally in a factory. I mean, they need you to be a factory worker supporting the capitalist economy that we have.
Her voice, her eyes, her physical and emotional presence to soothe that baby when they're in distress from moment to moment, to help to regulate their emotions. So 2 things mothers do. They buffer children from stress, which is so important because the part of their brain that regulates stress is meant to remain offline for the first year and very quietly, slowly come online for the next 2 years. So what are we doing? We're throwing babies into these institutional orphanages. It's overstimulating. It's stressful. If you walk into any daycare, you are going to hear many, many children crying. Children are not meant to cry much in the first year. They're meant to be held by their mothers and held against their mothers' bodies. So they buffer children from stress and they regulate their emotions. So what we're seeing as a mental health crisis is a crisis of emotional regulation issues in children, adolescents, and adults. Depression, anxiety, ADHD, these are all emotional regulation issues. That means people cannot regulate their emotions. And so we're just giving them pills. We're not saying, where does emotional regulation come from? What's the origin of it? And the origin of it is in the very early days of your life. If you had a mother who soothed you when you were in distress from moment to moment, it regulates your emotions. So it's only after 3, 85% of the right brain is developed by 3. It's only after 3 that you internalize the start to internalize the ability to regulate your own emotions or to deal with stress and adversity in the future.
So does that mean that if I'm not home as a mother for those early 3 years, you think there's possible chances that my child might grow up to be somewhat traumatized or have some kind of...
It is not what nature intended for us. And so we have made social changes that are about narcissism and self-orientation and me, and don't involve an understanding of children's irreducible developmental needs. And if we did, then maybe more women wouldn't have children, and that would be fine. I have no problem. I'm not a pronatalist. You don't have to have children to be happy. You can, build businesses, build houses, have loving, intimate relationships, not have children. But if you're going to have children, you need to know that dropping and running, putting them in daycare, or now, let's talk about very poor women.
I just wanted to give y'all some of the tea about what's going on out here. Why some of us is all jacked up.
Yo.
What's happening? And here's the funny thing. I've known for years that 1 through 5 is the most important time in your child's life where you have to be very careful about their development and that you have to really pour into your children. You have to be available and there to do it. And if you don't, they have severe issues when they get older with specifically emotional regulation. But I didn't know what the breakdown was and stuff like that. So it's sort of crazy that this is something that's known in all of the literature in psychology concerning children. And it's no shock to me that to deal with this issue, instead of fixing it and having moms put in a place where they could be at home, because it would take a lot, especially at this point, that people would rather just give everybody medication. Why is it that everybody has ADHD? Everybody has anxiety. Everybody is depressed. To the point that people can make millions of dollars just by being there and saying, man, get off your couch and get your butt to the gym. People wonder why Andrew Tate blew up so much. He blew up because he gave men hope. Because they were so busy being depressed. They were so busy dealing with anxiety. They couldn't stay still. They had ADHD. And I guarantee if you talk to a lot of them, and if they talk to their parents, a lot of them had to go to a daycare, or mom couldn't be there because she had to work. And she goes into that. I don't want to play too much of the video because, you got to deal with the copyright and all that other stuff. This was an amazing video. It will be linked down in the description. Go and watch it. They were talking a little bit about the manosphere too, which is one of the reasons why I watched it. I just want to say something personally from me to you. Erica, you have been red-pilled. You can deny it all you want to. But like 80-90% of the things you said was straight red pill ideology. You may not realize it because you're too busy thinking about Andrew Tate and his extremism, or you're thinking about a fresh and fit. But the actual manosphere, the red pill, the mindset, a lot of the stuff that they say in their circles, you put on here. You may not realize it. You've been red-pilled. And being red-pilled is you listen to the science. That's all that means. You listen to the biology. You listen to the differences between men and women's bodies. She was talking about like the difference between our hormones, why we're more suited to do certain things than the other. Those are all red pill talking points, i.e. science. Like just because you look at the whatever podcast and they're sitting there dunking on OF models, they're saying the same things.
It's all in the delivery though.
They just found a way to make it entertaining. For men, not so much for the women. Not if you're more modern women. I've seen women on there dunking on some of the other women. Yep. It's science. What's wrong with you? Stop using your logic as a weapon. This was a fantastic conversation. Even the woman who I mostly disagreed with, because she kept on talking about autonomy and self-realization, and she doesn't want to feel guilty for anything. I hated it, but I like when you have somebody intelligent having a conversation with somebody who knows what they're talking about, so that you can sift through for yourself and really see if something makes sense.
I'm just still stuck on this orphanage thing. Like, no, like that's like, wow. That's deep.
Yeah.
Comment down below and let us know what you guys think if you made it this far. And if you have made it this far and you like what you're hearing, go ahead and give us a thumbs up as well. It really helps the algorithm, okay? And that's gonna help YouTube know that you appreciate what we're putting down.
What we're putting down?
Hey everybody, down in the description, there are 2 links.
One is to a GoFundMe And the other one is to a video that explains what the GoFundMe is for. Long story short, we have a medical situation with our daughter that we have to pay for everything out of pocket. And we could really use you guys' help. If you have the time, we'd love for you to go check it out. If you have the money, the funds, we'd love for you guys to help. If not, maybe you could send a link to somebody else who can help. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Press the off button.